Peyton Manning steps to the line of scrimmage, surveying the defense with intensity. He adjusts the play with a series of audibles, then delivers a perfect strike for his fourth touchdown pass of the game. 5 NFL MVP awards, 2 Super Bowl rings. But let that sink in for a moment. This wasn't just about the hardware. This was about a man who fundamentally changed how the quarterback position is played forever. Many Hall of Fame players revolutionized their craft. Some of the greatest signal callers who ever lived, Johnny Unitas, Joe Montana, Brett Favre, they dominated their era. But one man, a football-obsessed kid from New Orleans, who carried the weight of impossible expectations from day one, somehow found himself redefining what it meant to be a quarterback, striking fear into the hearts of defensive coordinators across the National Football League. Peyton Williams Manning, a name that still represents surgical precision more than a decade after his retirement. We remember the audibles, the perfect spirals, the record-breaking seasons, and that iconic pre-snap ritual. But here's what might shock you. Those individual accolades, that's not even the full story. When you count his impact on offensive strategy, Peyton Manning appeared in every defensive coordinator's nightmares and revolutionized how defenses approach pass coverage. The legend of the sheriff. But as time passes and new stars emerge, we can lose sight of what this man truly accomplished. The absolutely staggering precision that seems almost supernatural. We may remember the playoff disappointments and the pressure, but we find ourselves forgetting the incredible journey of how a cerebral athlete from Louisiana became the most precise quarterback in NFL history. Well, now it's time to witness the brilliance and the mastery of football's most methodical force. This is the story of Peyton Manning. The quarterback takes the snap. Manning's reading the defense.
Poker! Poker!
He's got his man. Another touchdown for the sheriff.
His receiver, hit over the shoulder catch at the goal line.
When Peyton Williams Manning was born on March 24, 1976 in New Orleans, Louisiana, greatness was practically written in his DNA. This wasn't just any family. This was football royalty. New Orleans wasn't just a football hotbed. It was a city that lived and breathed the game. It was a place where quarterbacks were revered, where talent was expected, and where the path to greatness came with immense pressure. The Manning family was football through and through. Young Peyton's father, Archie, was already a beloved quarterback who had thrilled Saints fans for years. His mother, Olivia, raised 3 sons who would all play football, 2 of them Peyton and Eli as quarterbacks, and Cooper as a wide receiver. Unlike many families, sports weren't just seen as a hobby, but rather as the family business, and maybe the path to surpassing even greater heights. Peyton was different from an early age. He had a methodical mind, a need for perfection and preparation that couldn't be satisfied. But here's where the story takes its first dramatic turn. Manning wasn't even the most naturally gifted athlete initially. He was a student of the game, a quarterback with an analytical mind, who dreamed of mastering every aspect of the position. It was at Isidore Newman School that coaches realized they had something special on their hands. The moment he stepped into that huddle, everything clicked. Even then, there was something different about the way this kid approached the game. While other players relied on pure athleticism, Manning studied. He relied on preparation and football intelligence. Without knowing it, he was developing the pre-snap mastery and Omaha audibles that would make him legendary.
I had a good high school career, had a lot of fun, but I realized how I wanted to be a college quarterback.
By his senior year, Manning was already making headlines, and he was one of the most sought-after players in the country, recruited by 60-plus schools, and named the 1993 Gatorade National Player of the Year. His grades were pristine, his attitude was professional, and every college coach in America knew exactly what to make of this disciplined and incredibly gifted student athlete. The University of Tennessee offered him everything he wanted. A chance to compete at the highest level and prove himself outside his father's shadow.
At a young age, I understood the importance of college football and what it meant to my dad and what it meant to so many.
Under head coach Philip Fulmer, Manning began to showcase his natural abilities, developing into the field general where his intelligence and arm strength could truly shine. Even in college, he was methodical. He studied film religiously, outworked everyone, and lived life with purpose and discipline. When Saturday came around, he dissected opposing defenses like no quarterback anyone had ever seen. Manning often reminded teammates, echoing Chuck Noll, "Pressure is something you feel, only when you don't know what you're doing." By his senior year at Tennessee, Manning had caught the attention of every NFL scout in the country. His combination of size, intelligence, and accuracy was unlike anything they had seen. When the 1998 NFL Draft arrived, the Indianapolis Colts held the first overall pick. They didn't hesitate. Peyton Manning was about to take his talents to the professional level.
The first pick of the draft, the Indianapolis Colts select quarterback, University of Tennessee, Peyton Manning.
Where preparation meets opportunity. But before he could make his mark in the NFL, Manning's readiness was already being questioned. The pressure, the expectations, the spotlight. Many wondered if this brilliant but untested young man could handle the demands of professional football in a league that destroyed even the most promising quarterbacks. What they didn't realize was that the pressure would only make him more prepared. When Manning arrived at Colts training camp in 1998, he was ready to prove he belonged. His rookie season was a learning experience. He threw 28 interceptions alongside 26 touchdowns, but he completely changed how the Colts approached the passing game. Manning showed flashes of the brilliance that would define his career, establishing himself as a quarterback who would never stop learning. But that was just the beginning. Manning steps to the line. He's reading the defense like a book. That's what the sheriff does to a defensive game plan. The early 2000s were when Peyton Manning transformed from a promising rookie into the most precise quarterback in the NFL. In 2003, Manning threw for 4,267 yards and 29 touchdowns, leading the Colts to the playoffs and earning his fourth Pro Bowl selection. But it was his 2004 season that truly elevated him to legendary status. That year, Manning threw for 4,557 yards and a then-record 49 touchdown passes, dissecting defenses with surgical precision and becoming the NFL most valuable player. Think about that. In a league where defense wins championships, a quarterback was considered the most valuable player through sheer dominance. Here's where the Peyton Manning story becomes almost unbelievable. From 1998 to 2015, Manning didn't just dominate individual games, he dominated entire defensive philosophies. Teams had to completely restructure their coverages just to account for number 18. The audible became an art form because of Peyton Manning. Think about that level of impact. One player literally changed how every team in the NFL approached pass defense. But Manning's path to greatness wasn't without its obstacles. Throughout his career, one rivalry would define him more than any other: his epic battles with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. From 2001 to 2015, these two quarterbacks engaged in what many consider the greatest individual rivalry in NFL history. The numbers tell part of the story. Brady held an 11-6 advantage in head-to-head matchups, but Manning outshined Brady in the playoffs with a 3-2 record. The rivalry began in earnest during the 2003 AFC Championship game. Manning and the Colts entered Foxborough with Super Bowl aspirations, only to watch Brady and the Patriots intercept 4 Manning passes in a crushing 24-14 defeat. The 2004 divisional round brought another devastating blow, a 20-3 loss where Manning threw for just 238 yards. Critics began questioning whether the sheriff could win the big one. But Manning's greatest triumph over Brady came when it mattered most. The 2006 AFC Championship game in Indianapolis represented Manning's finest hour against his rival. Trailing 21-3 in the second quarter, Manning orchestrated one of the greatest comebacks in playoff history, completing 27 of 47 passes for 349 yards as the Colts stormed back to win 38-34. The victory sent Indianapolis to Super Bowl 41. February 4, 2007, Super Bowl 41 at Dolphin Stadium in Miami. The Colts faced the Chicago Bears and their legendary defense. Manning methodically picked apart the Bears in terrible weather conditions, leading the Colts to a 29-17 victory and earning his first Super Bowl championship. He had finally silenced the critics. But just as Manning seemed to be hitting his peak, disaster struck. Following the 2010 season, Manning began experiencing severe neck pain that would threaten not just his career, but his quality of life. What initially seemed like a minor injury revealed itself to be a debilitating condition, requiring multiple surgeries on his cervical spine.
Electrical stimulation to get the bones to heal, electrical stimulation to get his muscle to heal. So he may heal a little quicker than that, but 3 months is really an early timeline for him.
The man who had never missed a start suddenly couldn't throw a football. The neck injury saga began in May 2011 with what was supposed to be a routine procedure, but complications arose and Manning required additional surgeries. As the 2011 season approached, it became clear that the Colts franchise quarterback wouldn't be able to play. For the first time in his career, Manning watched from the sidelines as his team finished 2-14 without him. During his recovery, Manning's arm strength was virtually non-existent. The quarterback who had built his reputation on precision passing could barely throw a football 20 yards. Doctors weren't sure if he would ever regain full function. But Manning's response to adversity revealed his true character. Instead of wallowing in self-pity, he attacked his rehabilitation with the same methodical approach he brought to studying game film. He worked with trainers, underwent intensive physical therapy, and slowly began rebuilding his arm strength. It was a grueling journey that tested every ounce of his legendary determination. The Indianapolis Colts, faced with uncertainty about Manning's recovery and holding the #1 draft pick, made the difficult decision to select Andrew Luck and release their franchise icon. After 14 seasons in Indianapolis, Manning was suddenly a free agent at age 36.
I finished my football race, and after 18 years, it's time.
Coming off serious injury with no guarantees.
Training camp, I had a knee injury, and I had this infection in my knee.
Enter John Elway and the Denver Broncos. Elway believed Manning could still perform at an elite level if healthy. The signing was a massive gamble, but Manning's first workout convinced everyone that the Sheriff still had magic left in his arm. There will never be another Peyton Manning. Manning's Denver years represented a remarkable second act. Despite clearly diminished arm strength, he continued to dissect defenses with surgical precision. His football intelligence seemed to improve with age, compensating for physical limitations with even greater preparation. The 2012 season saw Manning throw for 4,659 yards and 37 touchdowns, proving that reports of his demise were greatly exaggerated. But it was the 2013 season that truly cemented Manning's legacy as one of the greatest comeback stories in sports history. At age 37, coming off major neck surgery, Manning delivered the greatest statistical season by a quarterback in NFL history. He threw for 5,477 yards and an NFL record 55 touchdown passes, breaking records many thought would never be topped, while capturing his 5th MVP award. The Brady rivalry continued even in Denver. Their 2015 AFC Championship game represented Manning's final triumph over his greatest rival. With his arm strength clearly diminished and his body breaking down, Manning relied on his championship experience and football intelligence to guide the Broncos to a 20-18 victory over Brady's Patriots, sending him to one last Super Bowl. February 7, 2016, Super Bowl 50 at Levi's Stadium. Though Manning's arm was fading, his leadership and Denver's dominant defense carried the Broncos to a 24-10 victory over the Carolina Panthers. Manning had his second Super Bowl championship and the perfect ending to an incredible career. There will never be another Peyton Manning. When Manning finally retired after the 2015 season, his resume was legendary. 14-time Pro Bowl selection, 7-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time NFL MVP, and 2-time Super Bowl champion. He finished with 71,940 passing yards and 539 touchdown passes, records that stood for years. But statistics don't tell the full story. Manning's influence on modern football cannot be overstated. The cerebral quarterback position that dominates today's NFL was essentially perfected by Peyton Manning. Players like Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees all benefited from the blueprint the Sheriff established. The idea that one quarterback could single-handedly elevate an entire franchise started with number 18. The Manning-Brady rivalry ultimately transcended individual statistics. It represented different philosophies of quarterback play. Manning's meticulous preparation versus Brady's clutch gene. The Sheriff's statistical dominance against Brady's championship pedigree. While Brady won more head-to-head matchups, Manning's influence on how the position is played remains unmatched. In 2021, Peyton Manning was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. In his first year of eligibility, when your resume includes revolutionizing quarterback preparation, winning 5 MVP awards, and terrorizing defenses for nearly 2 decades, there's really no debate about your worthiness. Manning's journey through adversity, from early playoff failures to devastating injury to triumphant comeback, revealed the true measure of his character. Lesser players might have retired after the neck injury, but Manning's relentless pursuit of perfection drove him to prove that intelligence and preparation could overcome physical limitations. When we talk about Peyton Manning today, we often focus on his rivalry with Tom Brady and playoff disappointments, but that misses the point of what made him truly special. Manning represented the possibility of complete mastery through preparation and relentless study. He showed us that you don't have to rely solely on physical gifts to be great. Sometimes you just have to trust your preparation and play with surgical precision. As Manning himself once said, "One thing that can never be sacrificed is your preparation and your work ethic." That quote perfectly captures the essence of what made the Sheriff special. The combination of natural ability and relentless preparation that allowed him to make plays that seemed impossible. In an age of athletic quarterbacks and explosive offenses, Peyton Manning's career stands as a reminder that precision and preparation will always matter. Yes, his statistics are incredible, but they don't capture his leadership, his football intellect, or his ability to make everyone around him better. They don't measure the way he could change an entire game plan just by walking to the line of scrimmage. They don't quantify the respect he earned from every player who competed against him. When you think about the greatest game changers in sports history, certain names immediately come to mind. Muhammad Ali changed boxing. Michael Jordan changed basketball. Wayne Gretzky changed hockey. But Peyton Manning changed football in a way that redefined what we expect from the quarterback position. He didn't just master his craft, he created an entirely new standard for preparation. The kid from New Orleans who carried the weight of family expectations and transformed them into motivation became the most precise quarterback in NFL history. He proved that in America, intelligence combined with dedication will always rise to the top, even when that intelligence comes wrapped in enormous pressure and expectation. Here's the thing that makes Peyton Manning's story so remarkable. In today's NFL, with salary caps and free agency, no single quarterback will ever have the opportunity to study and perfect his craft the way Manning perfected his during the 2000s. The modern game moves too fast for that kind of methodical development. He didn't just set a standard for precision. He set a standard that will be incredibly difficult to match. There will never be another Peyton Manning. Peyton Williams Manning, an 18-year playing career that redefined what it means to be a student of football, a personality that transcended the sport and became synonymous with preparation and precision, a legacy that will influence quarterback play for generations to come. Because, as the Sheriff himself would say, there were other players who were more talented, but there was no one who could out-prepare me. So the next time someone asks you about the most precise quarterback in NFL history, remember the methodical but brilliant signal caller from Louisiana who somehow found a way to dissect defenses and change expectations forever. Remember the man who proved that sometimes the best offense is perfect preparation. Remember Peyton Manning, football's most studious force, and one of the NFL's most respected champions. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more legendary football stories every week. End Zone Exposed is where the truth always scores.